Hello? God, is that you? Jeez, the people above us are just so loud. It's not even funny. I'm just saying.
This level was first called Distillery, and if you check the data file, it's still named as such.
It sure is dark in here.
Yes, and there's a good reason for it. But you can light the lamp now if you wish.
What's the reason? For the darkness, that is.
Stay close. Be careful not to stray.
What's the reason? Why is it so dark?
Pay attention, Daniel. It's important that you keep going straight. And make sure not to stray.
I need to order my food too, so I don't actually place the order. No, like, I don't know, but for some reason, when, like, Mom and us came up here for the move, they were forgetting me. Like they'd be like, oh, is that everything? Yeah. And then Leah would be like, Josh has to order. And I'd be like, come on, guys, like, like, what are you doing? You got light over there?
This level was first called Distillery, and if you check the data file, it's still named as such. Now, for some reason I told Mickey, a writer, that it was called Refinery, and the voiceover was recorded with the wrong name. Since it's easier to change a name than a piece of voice data, we had to rename it. I'm glad I said Refinery though, and not King's Hall or Grandma's Vegetable Patch. That would not have been as fitting.
1839. It's been more than a month since my last entry. After the event inside the underground chamber in Algeria, Professor Herbert insisted I return to England. He said he didn't want to risk forfeiting the entire expedition lest I took a turn for the worse. An excessive decision, in retrospect. But I'm glad it turned out that way. I found my journal this morning in the haphazard collection of things brought home from Africa. Next to it lay the broken stone orb wrapped in cloth. I tried to assemble it, but couldn't. The pieces wouldn't fit together, as if they weren't from the same object. Could I have imagined it all? Was there ever a complete orb?
Level. We added stuff to the puzzle perhaps 4 or 5 times because after each test session we kept having testers that did not see the piece of wood that you are to break to complete the puzzle. Originally you could only break it, so we added the option to pull it out as well. Then we added a faint light to draw the attention to it and also tweaked the description of the crank. After that we added so that when you pull the crank there is a bit of dust falling from the piece of wood. And we also did a slight change in the angle of the piece of wood and changed the color and the texture, all to make it as notable as possible. So, the question is, did you notice the piece of wood?
Pinched a vein on top of my foot. Oh, fuck.
What up, everybody?
Oh, I hit alt tab. Fuck me. Let's hit tab. Tip, 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 tip. Tab. Oh shit!
Hello, I'm Nick, the composer from Amnesia The Dark Descent. You
What
may
the
have
fuck?
heard my music before if you played the Penumbra game series, and I did a couple of tracks for Penumbra Tech Demo too. So this is my 5th project with Frictional Games, and I'm happy to be a
What?
part of the team.
Huh?
If our food's not right, we contact Burger King.
What the fuck?
Hello, I'm Mikko Tarmia, the composer from Amnesia The Dark Descent.
There's
You may
a
have heard my
invisible
music
thing
before
walking
if
in
you
the
played
water.
the Penumbra game series, and I did a couple of tracks for Penumbra Tech Demo too. So this is my 5th project with Frictional Games, and I'm happy to be a part of the team.
I hate that because it sounds like I'm getting chased, and I know it's bad. And oh my god.
Creature in the water, affectionately called Lurky here at Frictional Games, did not have a sense of sound. Later on we wanted to add it though, so the player could lure it away by throwing stuff in the water. When I added this, something unexpected happened. Lurky started following me. When you jump on the crate, it hears the sound you make when you land and it goes there to investigate. This was very fun emergent behavior, and I think it made him even more menacing. I also want to add that Lurker was kind of inspired by my favorite movie as a child, Tremors. I guess this early obsession might also explain some creatures in our older games.
I can't tell if it goes faster when I'm in the water or not. Nod. I just got a hit. Be hot, master. Oh shit, I fucked it up. Oh, no way. I'll have to like speed run this if I can. Damn. Me, that was crazy. Not playing games anymore? Not playing games anymore?
Hi, I am Tapio, and I made monster sounds and vision sounds for this game. Yeah, I just love this monster. I think it was pretty fun to make because there was underwater sounds as well as sounds from the above. I think I wanted it to sound like a very big monster, but still very fast. And I thought that voice itself needed to be high-pitched screaming because water is splashing around and messing other sounds. Actually, a great example is the attack sound where there is big water splash as it jumps from the water. At the same time, you can hear a short scream sound which is made from the cat sounds. I think it works great. I think other great sound is when it's just eating in the level. You can hear it eating meat and hear the bones crashing under the water. I made the eating sounds by walking in the water and breaking dry wooden sticks. The sound itself didn't need much processing or editing because it sounded almost like you hear now. Well, this is Water Monster, so I recorded lots of water sounds. For example, bubble sounds are made with a watering can, which is sunk in the water. And when it's chasing the player, its movement is made by a big rock, which I just threw in the lake. It feels like it's running after you or hitting its big hands on the water. I think there is lots of power in this monster.
This level is the high point of the lurker build-up, which sort of started in an entrance level with the slime appearing. It's supposed to be a sort of roller coaster ride and is designed to be easy enough to be completed on the first try. Yet, it should also be stressful. Many of the things in a level that seems like you barely make it are just scripted to be that way. But it's nothing you notice because they're blended in with the truly deadly stuff. This is the second hub level of the game and is supposed to give some contrast to this stressful lurker encounter. We think building up contrast like this is extremely important for the horror mood. Only by seeing a bright level can you appreciate the dark one and so on. If you do not do this, player will get used to the stuff and the effect will lessen greatly.
Finally a light level where I can not use my lantern and shit. Come on, if you're coming.
This map was one of the most fun to make because of the rooms have more objects than we usually add in the levels. I think the first 2 rooms were pretty good, just because of this. But we can't add this many objects in every room in the game, because that would, first of all, be very demanding on your PC's performance, and a lot of our players doesn't have gaming rigs. Secondly, it wouldn't make sense if every room or corridor was a storage. We also try very hard to vary the levels and rooms as much as we can do. This level was also the first time in the game the player had any contact with outside. So for this part I had to make a couple of different wall pieces, a pine tree and a breakable version of the window. And I can talk a little bit more about the breakable window here. When creating breakable objects like this, we have to first of all break the model by splitting parts up and creating pieces. Like on this window, it has a lot of wood parts that are loose after it breaks. Those parts are remodeled into broken versions, and in the broken version of the window, they're actually hanging in the air at the same place they were when the window was whole. After modeling those and exporting the model into collada format, which our engine handles, I use our in-house model editor, set each wood part up with a body for collision, and I also add weight for it to behave realistically. I also add material type, in this case wood, and that is so that wood sound is played when the beats hit something. You can also set up more advanced stuff like how it will behave in water, how fast it can travel, and how fast the speed will decay, but also a lot of other settings as well. But when the broken version is done, I also set up a special entity of the original window where I set it to break at a certain force, and when that happens another entity will load and this one will disappear. And in this case we load the broken version of the window. We also set it up so a particle system with glass shards is going to be played as well as a break sound. And as soon as you break that window and all that is happening, and since you probably threw something at the window, the force of that object will make the wood pieces fly and not fall straight to the ground as they would otherwise. That is pretty much how we do it with most breakable entities. But of course, creating a particle system and sounds for this is needed too. And in this level you can also see a lot of props that I made earlier before we started making maps. This is objects like shelves, tables, chairs, paintings, etc. But of course I didn't make all the objects in this level.
See, that's terrifying. It's the sound of a fucking dog getting beaten. Like, that's fucked.
In the original pitch, Herbert was a fairly important character, but it didn't really reflect in the games, so we tried a few different things to incorporate him, but it never really made any sense. Herbert was important to Daniel's background, but in the end he didn't have any impact on the story happening right now, that is, the conflict between Daniel and Alexander. So most of his things was cut during the last stage of production.
With my journal.
Ah, the white is so bright.
In this room, everything is connected to destruction and home. This was Daniel's home as Alexander's guest, and the diary entries are about Daniel being home in London and things falling apart.
Come on.
These sort of connections are not something that we want the player to get. Rather, it should end up in the subconscious and work toward building the mood. Also worth noting is this focus as explained in the commentary of Wine Cellar, where I want the player's attention on a certain aspect. We hope this makes the story clearer. The idea is to slowly build it up, one part at a time, giving the player time to digest and think about it.
I should 100% be going in. To fix this goddamn.
2nd of July, 1839. I received a letter today from the Algerian governor's office disclosing the fate of Herbert's expedition. About a week after my departure, Abdullah, one of the men traveling with us, returned from the desert.
Muhammad Ali?
He was badly injured, as if maimed by a lion.
Muhammad Ahmed?
The man rambled deliriously about the expedition being attacked by something horrible. The French quickly dispatched a search party to look for the expedition. After searching for days, they found the camp abandoned without any trace of Herbert or his men. Tomorrow, I'll retrieve the things they recovered from Herbert's tent at the customs house. I don't know what to make of it, but I'm worried for him.
Well, I'm worried for him. You best be
In
worried.
this room, everything is connected to destruction.
Daniel is a pretty complicated character to write for, as we didn't want the player to feel that they were losing control by having feelings imposed on them. After the amnesia kicks in, everything which is Daniel is essentially gone. The player is the new Daniel, and he should be able to act the way he pleases, and even reject his own background as he discovers it. That is why everything concerning Daniel is flashbacks. Even the diary entries are read as what is being told is happening right now. That is, it is the old Daniel telling the story, and not the player reading it.
Oh fuck me, isn't this where the monster comes?
When we create props, we usually have concept pictures or reference images to look at when modeling the object, just to make sure it stays within the art style that we are going for. When creating a chair, a table, or a bookcase, just to name a few, we usually have to plan the measurements before we get them into the game, because having something in the game that isn't the right size can break the immersion. But sometimes you have to cheat that and test it out, because the camera perspective can really trick you. I have the perfect example of the camera tricking you sometimes. Take out the lantern in-game and look at the wall or an object in the same height as the lantern and try guessing how big the lantern will be next to that object. Then walk up as close as you can to that object and compare. If you got a good example out of this, you see that the hand and lantern is in fact very small, but it feels right when it's close to the camera. But we don't want to go on gut feeling on the measurements of every object. That could really get out of hand quickly, and a lot of things could feel out of place. So it's basically a matter of changing the scale if it feels weird. When modeling the prop, we try to make it as close as the reference images as we can, or if you've got a sketch, that is. It's often a quite simple process that usually doesn't take that much time, but it completely depends on what it is and if the sketch we have are detailed. Before giving the model a texture and working on that, we need to create a UV map for it. A UV map can best be described as an image with painted and edited details to it that is wrapped around the object. So the texture for a cardboard box, for example, would look like a box that you have unfolded onto the ground. After the UV map is created, we start to work on the texture. And here, we usually start with adding untouched materials like wood or metal, and these are from repo.
If you listen to the music tracks more carefully, you may find that characters have their own musical themes, which can usually be heard when you read papers during the game. These themes appear in many variations, so it's not always so easy to recognize them immediately. And in the end of the game, some of these themes will go quite insane. Oh, and that's Daniel's theme, which you can hear in the game's menu screen. Let me play it to you with piano.
July 1839. Today I picked up Herbert's things at the customs house. I dug through the trove of documents he had carried and found a log detailing the expedition. The nature of this text ranged from quick notes to colourful accounts of transpired events. I skimmed the pages, trying to figure out what might have happened. May 17th, the day I was trapped inside the orb chamber, Herbert dryly states, "Recovered Daniel after 1 hour of entrapment." This confused me greatly. I was suffocating within minutes. How could I have lasted an hour? I continued reading the peculiar text. Herbert states his facts without judgment or passion, but suddenly I could read frustration into his text. He pushed his men to investigate the underground tomb, an effort which seems to have strained the minds of his men. Madness spread through the ranks, and Herbert had to take some extreme measures to continue. He finally visits the chamber himself, where he retrieves the orb to the surface. His account confuses me greatly. If he has the orb, what are those pieces in my drawing room?
That's crazy, man. What the fuck's going on over here? Hey.
The key. Please, let it be here. July 1839. It's done. The orb is assembled. I was awakened by an exhausting nightmare. Shaking and sweating, I retired to the drawing room with a cup of tea. The relic pieces lay spread across the table as I'd left them, but somehow I knew how it was supposed to be. I fetched the tar, which I had prepared to fix the pieces together, and without fault I joined them, producing the orb I remembered so clearly. The tar proved unnecessary. It was pushed out from the joining pieces as they merged on their own, with no adhesive. The ancient stone relic now rests on my table. Its immaculate surface and perfect shape could have been molded by a factory. This is all too strange.
Left. Alright. Coast clear.
Ascending room. Will it take us to the inner sanctum?
It will definitely take care of the vertical part of our journey. So, you have ridden an elevator before?
Yes, the Colosseum at Regent's Park has one. It takes you to the gallery where you can view the panorama.
Good. This ride might be a little longer, and in the other direction.
So I'll be here in like 20 minutes probably. Oh, that's dark. What did I just scribble down there?
Again, there's a lot of elements here working together. Not only does the player enter the darkest level yet, they'll also come up against a dark part of Daniel's memories. We've tried to have all aspects of the level work towards this goal. Hopefully it creates an oppressive and disturbing feel to it.
Should have put the fucking parts together. Fucking dumb beach.